How to deal with some of the challenges that comes with living in Florida. That's what this video is about. A lot of you want to live in Florida, but you're concerned about certain aspects of what it's like living here in Florida. And so I wanted to create this video and talk to you about how I deal with the challenges. Now, if you're new to this channel, my name is Katrin.pfitzenreiter. I'm a real estate agent in Sarasota, Venice, Bradenton, and Lakewood Ranch. And let's get right into this video. So a lot of you, especially as of late, have been asking me about red tide. Right now, we have red tide in Sarasota especially. Red tide is when algae grows out of proportion and just grows really fast. It's what scientists actually call harmful algae bloom. The algae here in Southwest Florida is called Karenia brevis. And if you get close to the coast when there's red tide, it can be really irritating to your lungs. It can be deadly to fish. I'm sure you've seen videos of fish kill. And so right now, the red tide here in Sarasota has gotten a bit worse. I have a lot of you concerned about it, and you're actually saying, well, I don't want to live in Southwest Florida by the coast because of red tide. And I can tell you this, that red tide happens every now and then. Sometimes there's no red tide for 3 or 4 years. Since we've had the hurricane that came through last year, we've had, I believe, 2 blooms, and this one particularly has been a little bit more severe. But as long as you're not right on the Keys, you're not right by the beach, you're not right by the water line, you don't really feel it, you don't really smell it. So I'm about 5 miles away from the shore, maybe a little less, about 10 minutes driving. I don't smell it. There's so many other things I can do in Sarasota where I live, right? From biking, hiking, playing tennis outside. It's warm year round. Right now I'm taping this in March, and there's still so much I can do outside of going to the beaches or kayaking. And that's typically what we'll end up doing then, right? Most of us will likely not go to the beach, though there are some Sarasotans that will go to the beach. Hurricanes is definitely something that people are really, really concerned about, especially after the last hurricane that brushed through here, Hurricane Ian. I can understand it. It's scary. A lot of you call me and you actually ask me, Katrin, so where's the safest place for me to live in Florida? I just don't want to deal with hurricanes. I don't want to deal with flooding. Hurricanes is a way of life for us here in Florida, just like red tide is. But we learn how to be safer. We have a good understanding of the areas we should be living in if we're worried about hurricanes. But here's a fact. So no matter where you live in Florida, you're not going to be completely safe from a hurricane. You can look at previous statistics of where hurricanes typically hit, and usually it's in Southwest Florida, Miami side, and also the Panhandle. But like we've seen with Hurricane Ian, even in places that are central, such as in Orlando, they've had flooding there. I've been to Fort Myers Beach right after Hurricane Ian, and the area is totally wiped out, right on the beach. Totally wiped out because of the surge. So the majority of the deaths that happen because of a hurricane is because of drowning. It's flooding, it's the surge water. There's ways where you can either safeguard your home or you're going to be a bit safer. And that is by not living right on the coast. Maybe live a few miles inward. Make sure you're at a high elevation. Also make sure that you're in the preferred flood zone called X. Now, everywhere in Florida, we're in a flood zone, but the preferred flood zone is flood zone X. Make sure that you get homeowners insurance and even consider getting flood insurance. And then just have a really good plan of what you need to do if a hurricane is coming your way. So I've been here for 11 years. I've been through more severe hurricanes. Hurricane Ian probably haven't been the most severest for me. And I had a place that I evacuated to. I had the hurricane windows and a new roof. And so we felt really safe there. But you also have an option of going to schools that have been converted into a shelter. Here's the good news. With hurricanes, we know exactly when a hurricane is coming towards Florida. Days, actually a week in advance, maybe even longer than that. You can't say that about all natural disasters. Just think earthquakes in California. You just never know when one is going to hit. I can tell you, having lived here in Florida, you're going to learn how to deal with hurricanes, and it's really just going to become kind of a way of life. In most cases, the hurricanes that we get are relatively mild, so to say. It's more likely that you're going to end up having a hurricane party because it's kind of our way of making light of the situation. What's the other option? Being miserable and hoping for the worst. And I'm not taking away from what happened in Fort Myers. For the most cases, the majority of us are going to be safe, especially if we safeguarded our houses and we evacuated the area. That's the key here. If they're asking you to evacuate, just leave. The weather in the summer is extreme when it comes to the heat. There's a lot of rain, a lot of lightning storms. Yes, it does get annoying, even for somebody like me who actually loves living here. I just know how the summer is going to be like, and I anticipate lightning storms every day. And so I usually don't ride my bike all that much in the summertime. And if I do, I typically don't ride it that far away from my house because a lightning storm can happen very, very quickly. And the last thing I would want to do is be out on my bike riding and, worry about getting hit. We just take precautions when it comes to the summer weather, when it comes to the heat. I exercise quite a bit, and I typically try to get my exercises in outside, either in the morning or in the evening. And it rains almost daily here in the summer. It doesn't last very long. Usually it's just an hour or maybe 2 hours long, but I have a raincoat I keep in my car in case I'm out and about and I need to jump out from my car to get into the store. So once you live here, you're just gonna know how to deal with the weather. You're gonna be making the best of it. And I would say that most of you are going to far prefer the summer weather, even with all that rain and thunderstorms and hurricanes, versus treacherous winter weather up north. Traffic. Where I live in Sarasota, the traffic has gotten far worse, especially really close to Lakewood Ranch on 75, but it's definitely nothing in comparison to New York City traffic. Traffic and how you perceive it is going to be very contingent upon your own perceptions and what you think is bad traffic. My recommendation is, when you're here, you're shopping for a house, but you're worried about the traffic, get to know the traffic pattern. It might actually not be as bad as what people make it seem to be, because perhaps for you, it's not a big deal. Maybe where you're coming from, the traffic is far worse. So it's a matter of really understanding what the traffic patterns are during all hours of the day, during season, and just adjusting your plans accordingly. Bugs and critters in Florida, including alligators, that seems to be very concerning to a lot of you guys. I've had buyers in town recently, and we went through new construction communities. Where we went, there were actually quite a few lizards out in the Lanai area that seemed to bother this particular buyer. And here's what I have to say. For the most part, I believe you're going to get used to the wildlife here, because it's more likely than not that where you're moving from, you're also dealing with bugs and critters. A lot of the critters from up north you can find here too. Some added critters you're needing to deal with here are lizards. Lizards are kind of everywhere in the Lanai area, okay? And gators, but gators are only there if you're really close to a body of fresh water. So it's not like gators are walking down the streets or the highways on a daily basis. They typically stay really close to the body of fresh water. So where I live, I'm really close to a lake. Yeah, I get to see gators almost every day. It doesn't bother me anymore because I've learned how to coexist with them, and I know not to get close. But chances are, if you don't live close to a fresh body of water, you're not going to see a gator. Now, lizards, it's more likely you're going to see lizards on a daily basis. You're going to have to deal with mosquitoes pretty much year round, but especially in the summertime. You can minimize the chances of you having an outbreak of mosquitoes by making sure that you don't have still standing water, because they breed inside of still standing water, and so you'll have much more mosquitoes around your area. Also, a lot of us will have our backyard, Lanai area, cage. People don't like it when I call it a cage. To me, it's kind of like a cage, but it's a screened area, and that really does help in keeping out mosquitoes, bugs. If you're close to a body of fresh water like me, being close to a lake, I like having the screen because it doesn't necessarily prevent the gator from coming in, but it certainly does help. If I were to choose one critter, one bug that is the most annoying to me, it is definitely the palmetto bug. It's not the gators. And quite honestly, the lizards that I see out in my Lanai area, they are super cute. They don't do any harm. And they actually just remind me that I live in Florida, that I'm lucky to live here in Florida, that I'm in a tropical setting, palm trees all around me, and with that comes lizards as well. I hope you enjoyed this video and I put you somewhat at ease when it comes to Florida life and living here. If you're new to Florida, test drive it. Maybe rent for a few weeks or even months, especially in the summertime. If you can handle the summer weather and everything that comes along with the summertime, you're gonna fall in love with Florida for all the reasons that people want to live here to begin with. And that is the no state income tax, warm weather year-round, palm trees. Oh my God, palm trees are just so magical. If you're close to the beaches like I am, just driving by a beach is magical to me. I hope you enjoyed this video and I thank you so much for watching till the very end. I always appreciate it when you guys do. Take care.